Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Retro Warriors episode 270. Woo. As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by resident old bastard, Chris Saturn.
Hello.
Saturn, we have housekeeping. And it is that you can check the episode description for timestamps to jump to the topic at hand.
I like that you've also started saying housekeeping in a questioning tone.
I also said time stance instead of time stamps.
They're time stance.
Pablo, can you edit me saying time stamps over me saying time stance so that people don't think I'm dumb?
That'll work.
I've been playing Project Warlock.
How's that?
It's a weird retro-esque Doom Wolfenstein Hexen clone made by a teenager. And it's great.
What
It's
year
a
did
lot
it
of
come
fun. 2018.
Huh.
It's a good time. I played it on stream the other night until my UPS started shrieking at me and then got unplugged from the wall. And
Nice.
then the whole stream stopped and everyone thought I died. Because all they heard was beep, and then me shouting under my desk, and then the stream went down.
Did you die?
No, I did not die.
Oh, that's good.
Turns out I was drawing far too much power off of my UPS, and it was very upset about it.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
But Project Warlock is very fun. I've been playing it, and it's a good. I like those old school shooters, but I like that it has some new school sensibilities like upgradable weapons and stat points and things like that, which is a lot of.
So it's not a real Doom.
A lot of fun. No. There's also no save points, so you can't just kind of save scum stuff.
Yeah.
And it's good.
Nice.
It's a good time. I think it has something like 24 weapons in it, which is nice. I like that a lot.
Nice.
And I recommend. I think I got it for like $5 on GOG. I'd been looking at all of those like Doom clones, like a Medieval and Project Warlock and Ion Maiden and stuff like that, or Ion Fury, whatever they renamed it to.
I don't know.
And Project Warlock was just the one that was on sale when I decided I wanted one. Also, I've been playing video games via Parsec.
Yes, we both
which
have.
is great. If you are looking for a way to remotely play video games, Parsec is awesome.
Yeah.
It works a million times better than the Steam remote play together feature.
Yeah, even on Hillbilly Internet, it was very good.
Yeah, we did a whole stream of you playing RetroArch games with me,
Right.
and according to you, you could actually tell what was going on.
I could. Pretty much the entire time. There was like one or two times when it would fuzz out a little bit, but it was completely manageable.
Yeah, so I cannot recommend Parsec enough. It is probably the most exciting gaming thing that has happened to me this year. It's a big deal.
The Turbo Mini came out this year.
Okay, it's tied for the most exciting gaming thing that's happened to me this year.
Nice. It's
so
very nice. I'm very excited about it.
I can't wait. I'm already like bugging Andrew, like, hey, you want to play games this weekend? You can log into Parsec, play games on my computer.
Right.
It's a good time.
Nice.
But that's about all I've been up to is Project Warlock and just goofing around with Parsec.
Speaking of streaming video games, I replayed Monster Boy via Stadia. And
for why?
Just because I had a shit ton of Google Play credit, and Google sent me a email with $10 off of any Stadia purchase, and
Nice.
so it ended up being free. So
Okay, that's not bad.
I went ahead and picked it up for free, and played through it again, and I don't know if their service has gotten better or if there's just less people on right now. Or if Monster Boy is just a less demanding game than others. But as far as the quality of the stream, it was pretty much perfect the entire playthrough.
Now, granted, what's your general downstream speed on your internet?
About 500 megs a second. It's pretty solid. But before, I was at 200 megs before when last I tried it.
Oh, is that all?
And it wasn't perfect all the time. There was some fuzzing out. It looked like a YouTube video buffering every now and then. With the most recent run, never happened. And the entire game of Monster Boy is like 10 hours or so. Mm-hmm. So during that time, I never had any issues. However, I did have some issues with the game itself crashing, and I never had that issue on the Switch. So I don't know if it's just some issues with the port code itself, but And I noticed it was always when I was trying to enter a door in the game, which made me think it was not a stream crash, but an actual program crash.
Right.
But it does do that. The one cool thing that I give Stadia credit for, it recognizes your controller and it shows you the correct button prompts.
That's good.
So like I tried a DualShock 4, I tried an Xbox One controller, and I tried a Switch Pro controller, and no matter which controller I plugged in, it immediately changed all on-screen prompts to match that controller.
I have noticed a lot more PC games giving you options to change your button prompt images, Although I do kind of wonder why more of them don't just do it Switch style and just show you like bottom button, top button, like the little diamond.
That's how Final Fantasy 15 does on Stadia. If you don't have an official Stadia controller plugged in, it just shows you bottom button, top button, left button, right button, which is confusing enough with the quick on the fly, quick time event button prompts in Final Fantasy 15. It becomes more so when it's trying to explain to you R1 versus R2 with just a diagram. It's very annoying. But I digress. After playing Monster Boy, I was in that mood. I wanted some more Monster World. So I decided I would start at the beginning because I have never once finished Wonder Boy and Monsterland, the original one that was in arcades and on Master System. So I decided I would play through the entire game. And I tried
as you do.
Right. I tried it first on my Xbox on the Monster World collection. And that's just an emulation of the arcade game. And I learned that it is unfair and cruel and hateful.
Oh, like so many retro games.
Yes, especially like retro arcade games. It wants your quarters. Only it's a quasi-platform RPG that wants your quarters. So it was like I got to level 8 or 9 in it, and then I just hit a brick wall. Like there's a boss that no matter how many times I continued and started over, I could not finish that boss. So instead, I emulated the Master System version of my RetroPie and finished the entire game and just had a blast with it. Like it was still hard and often unfair, but it was fun. It does keep the dumb time mechanic from the arcade game where every minute an hourglass flips over and takes away a heart from your life.
Oh my God.
To try to convince you to put more quarters in, but it's a Master System.
So what you're saying is it's the Dark Souls of Monster World games.
Right, yeah, pretty much. It's aged really poorly. It could use a remake more than any of the others, and nobody seems to want to remake it. So that's a shame. Also, I've been playing some more of Link Between Worlds on my 2DS. I am replaying it. And it is the first time that I've done a full replay since back when it first came out. And I'm pretty sure I was on record at the time of saying that it was amazing and my favorite Zelda game in years. And I stand by the fact that it is amazing and it is an excellent game, but I feel like I do not enjoy it as much as I did that first time.
Really?
There are several points in it that I have found frustrating, either because it is a little too open. Found some things way too easy. Like some of the enemy patterns, you can just really easily juggle them on your sword, and so there seems to be no real skill limit there.
So we get it. You're a hardcore gamer, and you need hardcore games. Okay.
However, the magic meter runs out way too quick, so that part I feel is too difficult.
I haven't replayed it either. When we did our Link Between or a Link to the Past episode, I went back and played a bit of it on my completed save file.
Yeah,
and I didn't. I was just. I mean, you know how it is jumping into a game you put that many hours into. I was just confused. And didn't know where I was or what I was supposed to be doing, and forgot how all my stuff worked.
Right.
And I'm wondering if I go back and actually replay it, if I'll have a
different opinion.
Yeah.
I found that the overworld was a little more obtuse than I remember because it's mostly Link to the Past's overworld, but there's a few things that are just different enough that I would find myself going the wrong direction. And I'm sure if I played it as many times as I played A Link to the Past, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I was going to say I go the wrong direction in Link to the Past all the time.
But then when you get to Low Rule, the Dark World, it's much more blocked off than the one in Link to the Past is. Like Link to the Past has a couple areas where you have to have a hammer to get by or something like that. But in low rule, it's not you have to have the right item. It's you have to go back to the light world, find a different portal, and then come back to the dark world. And that just takes a little too much time. Now, once you unlock all the fast travel points, it's fine. But it's still just there's a couple of things that are more frustrating than I remember them being. Still an excellent game. Still recommended, but maybe not as perfect as I initially thought. Yeah. And since I had my 2DS out, I immediately reopened Street Pass Me Plaza.
Of course.
Because that's what I always did. I don't get Street Passes anymore because it's 2020.
I'll come drive by your house.
But I have two 3DSs now because I have my 3DS and my 2DS. And
so you just walked by your 3DS multiple times.
I've started Street Passing each other just to try to get all the puzzle pieces because I never got them all and it always frustrated me. And
I would get, because I went at the height of the 3DS, I was in college, and I would get 10 to 15 Street Passes multiple times a day, and I don't even have all the puzzle pieces.
Yeah, the most I ever got was when I took my 3DS to a McDonald's once, and I got like 7 people from it.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I would get like 1 or 2 from neighbors, and that was it. And
I would drive, this is embarrassing. I would drive through like elementary and middle school parking lots.
Try to Street Pass people?
To try to, like, if I was driving home and I was like, in elementary school, I'd drive through the parking lot just to try to grab a couple kids that have 3DSs in their backpacks. Usually it was too far away.
Yeah. I did learn that there is a custom firmware utility that you can install on your 2DS called Gimme 300 Coins. And when you run it gives you 300 coins.
You don't say.
And it's the play coins that you get normally from walking around through 3DS.
Right.
And so I have been using my unlimited coins to buy every puzzle piece I can with my hacked 2DS and then trade them back to my 3DS. So the only puzzle pieces I will eventually be missing are the ones that you can only get through Street Pass. And I guess I'll never get them again because Street Pass is functionally dead. I was trying to find a way to create a spot pass on my Raspberry Pi because I knew that people had talked about that being an option, but apparently it was an option because it communicated with Nintendo servers, and with Nintendo servers down, it is no longer an option. So I think somebody has found some kind of remote Street Pass that you can do, but I am still researching it and seeing if it is a thing I can actually do, but I am looking into it.
I still have almost all of the swap note stationery.
Yeah, I never did any of that, so I can't speak.
And every now and then I'll open it, look at it, and then close it because I can't do anything with swap note anymore.
Right. You could talk to your family if you get them all 3DSs.
There you go. More excuses to buy more 3DSs. That's what I need in my house.
Right?
More than 3 3DSs. Let's do some news.
Yes, sir.
First up, Factor 5 and Strictly Limited Games announced 2 Turrican collections for the Switch.
Nice.
I can't speak. 2 Turrican collections for the Switch.
Hey, you got all the way through a sentence.
I did it! Yeah, so cool.
Yeah.
More Turrican is more better.
I never got around to Turrican, and I always heard huge praise for the early Turrican games. But being an American, we didn't get them until the Genesis and Super NES ports, I believe.
It's true.
We may have gotten an NES one. I don't know. It's America. We don't pay attention to Turrican. But I certainly didn't see it if we did. And so I was late even hearing about it. And by then it was just, that's a thing I'll add to an emulator and get to someday, and still haven't. So I need to sit down and give it a shot.
Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase announces Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 and Collection of Saga. And Collection of Saga is also getting a big collector's edition in Japan, which comes with no physical game cart.
Thanks, Square Enix.
So really, they're just selling you a box of crap.
Yeah, it's a box of Saga merch.
It's a box of crap.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this because I like these games.
Yeah, me too.
But
I'm a little sad it doesn't have the DS remakes of Saga 2 or 3, because those were really impressive. But at least it's the Game Boy games.
Nintendo revealed that the previously leaked Star Fox Grand Prix was never a real game, but was used to determine who their leakers were. They're learning not how to do online or releases properly.
Or how to announce
plug
games
leaks
far enough in advance that people can actually pre-order them.
Also, Nintendo, buddy, if you tell them that that's how you're figuring out who the leakers are, they're going to know that that's how you're doing it.
Yeah. I assume that they either didn't want this story out or that they found the people they were after.
Yeah. Nintendo reportedly Japan's richest company of 2020. Shocking nobody.
Yeah. Well, it's a little shocking. There's a lot of companies in Japan.
That's true, but man, they just have been crushing it on every front for so. I feel like every episode
outside of video games, there's major electronics companies. There's Toyota and Nissan. There's tremendously large companies.
Yeah, they're selling more Switches than Toyota's selling cars right now.
That's probably true.
God of War children's book B is for Boy releasing this September. If you want that, you can buy it.
It's just the weirdest thing.
Netflix confirms the Resident Evil TV series. The synopsis sounds ridiculous, as you would probably expect.
And it's being done by the production company behind the films. I don't think the writers or directors from the films were involved, but based on the story synopsis, I wouldn't be surprised.
Their spirits were in the room.
Yeah, right? Because it's weird sounding.
Ubisoft China produced coffee mugs with the handle on the inside. I want one so bad. It'd be the last Ubisoft product I ever bought. But I want one.
They apologized profusely for it.
Sega of Europe selling Sonic branded face masks, and I have a bone to pick with Sega of Europe because not one of these face masks has Sonic's mouth and nose on it to make me look like Sonic when I wear a Sonic face mask. What is the fucking point?
I think they should release one that's the mouth and nose of that weird, creepy Sonic that they almost used in the movie. That'd be perfect.
All the children will scatter as I walk down the street. He's coming! Hey, kids, want to go fast?
Oh, shit, it's Weird Sonic!
Ubisoft confirms that PS5 is not backwards compatible with PS3, PS2, or PS1. I don't know why Ubisoft had to confirm that. Apparently, the PlayStation 5 comes out in a couple of fucking months, and Sony doesn't seem to know that it's happening.
Yeah, Sony hasn't announced a price or anything. Neither has Microsoft announced a price for the consoles they are supposedly releasing within the next 2 months.
Yeah. Activision suing.
But Sony is allowing people to sign up for a list for the opportunity to pre-order the console.
Oh, yes. They are graciously allowing a select chosen few to give them money for their new product.
Based on their PSN history, they may be chosen.
Fuck you, Sony.
Right.
Speaking of fuck you, Activision suing Call of Duty cheat website that was making cheat programs and selling them to users.
Yeah.
While I don't love people making cheat programs and selling them to people or the idea of cheating in online games, I also don't love the precedence of a company suing someone that is effectively making a mod and how that may be weaponized against more legitimate mods.
Right, I agree. I'm not a fan of cheating in online games at all, but I really don't want to see a change in the way that things like Cheat Engine or mods or Game Genie or whatever can operate.
Yeah. Nintendo magnanimously allows cancellations of Switch eShop pre-orders up to 1 week before release.
How truly gracious of Nintendo.
So very kind that they would allow me, a consumer, to rescind my purchase of a thing that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
So kind and generous of them.
What was their previous policy?
Oh, you can't cancel it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you bought it. What did I buy? Nothing, because it's not out yet. Can I have my money back? No.
No, the performance has already started. That was their logic.
Fuck you, Nintendo.
Right?
AT&T no longer looking to sell Warner Brother games.
I guess they're making money off of it.
Never mind.
Suddenly, Mortal Kombat is valuable again.
Fans make solar-powered Game Boy called the Engage as proof of concept.
Unrelated to the Engage.
Yeah, unrelated to the Engage. Really a bad name overall. But cool that they did it. Super Lucky's Tale DLC delisted, but developer giving out codes for the DLC for free to anyone who still has the game.
Which is cool.
Yet another indie dev getting screwed from some weird licensing publishing thing. Rocket League will no longer require Nintendo Switch Online or PS Plus when it goes free to play.
Presumably Xbox Live as well, but I couldn't find confirmation on that.
Right. And then we had a Super Mario Direct.
Yes.
A surprise Direct.
Right.
Which announced many new Mario things that we're going to fire through. First up is a new model of Game & Watch with a color LCD that allows you to play some of the original Game & Watch games and Super Mario Bros. 1 and Super Mario Bros. 2 Japan, as well as functioning like a clock like the original Game & Watch models also did. Available in limited quantities on November 13th. Pre-orders have already happened in European regions, and it is currently awaiting FCC approval to get released in America. So we haven't done pre-orders yet. Super Mario Bros. 35 is a battle royale game in which 35 players play Mario 1 against each other.
Yeah.
It's available for a limited time from October 1st to March 31st.
Apparently, doing things in the game will cause more enemies to spawn on the screen on other players' screens. It's all very strange.
Mario Kart Live Home Circuit is basically one of those little RC car things that you control with your phone that has a camera that's been out for a few years, but it's Mario Kart themed.
And it plays on the Switch now instead of a phone.
Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury DLC releasing for $59.99. I believe it's next February is when that's coming out.
Yeah, I know they said early 2021. I want to say it was February.
Super Mario All-Stars came out on Nintendo Switch Online SNES, and that's a good game. I like that one.
It was an almost immediate drop.
And then the big announcement, Super Mario 3D All-Stars was announced, which includes Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy.
Just the first one.
Yes, just the first one. In one collection. Well, Super Mario Galaxy 2 wasn't an All-Star Saturn.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be in it.
Even when they showed the little video at the end, the celebrating Mario's history, and they showed all these different games, they didn't show Mario Land 2, they didn't show Galaxy 2. There was a handful of others that they just skipped. That they were like, oh, that's not important to his history.
The problem with Super Mario 3D All-Stars is that it is available for a limited time.
Yep.
From September 18th to March 31st, 2021, after which we don't know if it's going to go away, be debundled, be included in a service, be available elsewhere. There is also a limited physical print, although how limited is a little bit in question because it seems like pre-orders are still pretty open on it.
Now, if we remember 10 years ago now, when they released Mario All-Stars on the Wii, they made a big deal about how it was
also limited.
It was a limited edition thing for the 25th anniversary, and then it was going away, and you'd never be able to get it. And like maybe a year later, they were like, "Hey, and now as a part of Nintendo Selects is Super Mario All-Stars, and it's only $20 now."
Yeah, so now I'm excited for 3D All-Stars. It is $59.99. I would like a lower price or more updated features.
Right.
But still, 3 really good Mario games that I'm excited to play on the Switch.
Yeah, it looks like...
I still don't know what the fuck is up with the limited window thing.
It looks like Mario 64 runs on its original aspect ratio, just up-resed, but they did...
It looks like they've removed the hardware anti-aliasing on the 64 version. Well, on the 64 hardware, not that version of the game, and upscaled it appropriately.
Yeah. And then they also updated the button prompts so that they show proper Switch labels. Whereas Sunshine and Galaxy both seem to run in 16:9, which Sunshine didn't originally.
Yeah.
And they also look up-resed. And Sunshine still shows GameCube button prompts, which is weird.
I'm guessing it was harder to edit that for some... I don't know. Or they're going to release GameCube Joy-Con Saturn.
Or you could just plug a GameCube controller in.
You heard it here first!
Plug in your GameCube.
GameCube Joy-Cons!
Just USB.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles pulled from online marketplaces in Australia due to ongoing multiplayer issues. This game is just getting hammered.
Yeah, it's a shame. Because the original was fun, but it was quirky and weird. And it feels like they had to sacrifice some of that quirkiness to make it work in a modern environment. And from what I hear...
Now it's quirky and weird in a different way.
Right, yeah. It's quirky and weird in new ways. And from what I hear, it is a faithful reproduction of the original game, just without some of that quirk. But in Australia, it's apparently not even working online.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate.
Next up, and I hope you have details on this one.
Yeah.
I had heard about this. The Skullgirls
So the
owner, CEO.
the owner of the studio fired everybody.
And he's on record as being a huge asshole and potentially an abuser.
Yes, and has also made some very offensive comments based on sex and other things. And the board of the company asked him to leave, and then instead he fired the board, and several employees left, and so he fired the rest of them. The IP for Skullgirls remains with its publisher, and they said they're going to bring on the actual programmers to continue work on any future DLC or anything. But I don't know about Indivisible, if that's still held by that one dude, or if the publisher has any control over that. Which is unfortunate.
Well, fuck him either way.
Right.
And finally, Pikmin 3 has been relisted on the EU eShop.
Wii U.
Pardon me, the EU Wii Shop.
The Wii U eShop.
The EU, the European Wii U eShop.
No, the American one.
It's back on the American one too?
Yeah, it's on all of them.
Oh, okay, excellent. I guess I heard the early news that someone was saying that it was back on the European Wii U.
I tested it on my Wii U
it.
this morning, and
the Wii U EU.
No, I had heard no news at all about this. So far as I knew, it was still delisted. I was checking to see if Mario 3D World was still on there, or if they had delisted that after the big announcement. And it was still there, and Pikmin 3 was there. So I said it in our chat. I was like, "Hey guys, Pikmin 3 is back on there," and there was some surprise because there had been no news stories about it. And then as the day went on, I saw 2 news stories about how Pikmin 3 is back on the eShop. So I think somebody is trolling our Discord and stealing our information. It's the only.
It is a
possible
very
answer.
private, exclusive club that anyone who checks the show notes can join.
Right.
Let's get into the topic at hand.
Is there a topic this week?
There's a topic, and it is the Retro Warriors mailbag.
It's not a topic.
It's a topic, Saturn.
It's mailbag.
We've never done a mailbag episode. And we have a lot of mail.
Yeah.
A few thousand words of mail, actually.
And we only started asking for this mail about a month ago.
Yeah. So lots and lots of people wrote in just to ask us stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you like the mailbag, then let us know. We can do more mailbags.
Yeah.
I have no idea how this is going to go. I've seen bits and pieces of this because I had to copy the questions into this Word document, but I've not read through this. So I don't know what's in store fully.
Oh, boy.
So
And I'm not even looking at it. I'm making you read it to me, so all of my reactions will be completely fresh and genuine.
So hopefully it's good. And we're hoping we can fit it into one episode. If not, then
maybe we'll do another
see
one.
What happens. So let's
hopefully
get
this
right
isn't
down.
grossly offensive.
We can only hope. Let's get down to it. First up is from Cody Smack, who says, "Hey, gang, big fan. I'm a Texas boy myself, and darn it, I just love hearing y'all's voices. How sweet. Keep up everything you do. I will happily gobble up everything you put out. Guy, Pablo, and Andrew too. I love you guys. I pledge to continue to mention your podcast to friends past the point of annoyance. Anyways, at the suggestion of Saturn, I finally played Terranigma. So here's my question.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about the profound sadness I now have knowing Quintet is gone?
Well,
I don't think a game can move me like Terranigma. How did you cope?
So, first step, now that you know that the Quintet trilogy is over and you've played Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, and Terranigma, is to find what they did after that. And the next game that the Quintet people made, I don't think they were still under the name Quintet anymore, but it was a lot of the same dev team, made a game on PS1 called The Grand Stream Saga. Not the Grand Stream Saga. There's no D there. We needed to make it
sense.
a word no one could find. So
it wasn't a very good stream, so they couldn't call it the Grand Stream. You took the D out.
Yeah, and then it was the Grand Stream. So Grand Stream Saga on PS1, you can go check it out. It's the next game that Quintet did, and it's so mediocre that you'll immediately lose all faith in Quintet and then not want anything more from them. So it'll help alleviate those feelings, not by giving you the next great experience, but by lowering your standards so much that you can come back to reality.
Follow-up question for you both. What are your favorite hentai games?
Oh, God.
Any hentai game with a light gun component.
Yeah, I'm going to back you up on that. Anything with a light gun component. Also, anything that uses the Mega Mouse on the Genesis, I'll take that.
Next up, Dear Justin and or Saturn, it's and. I have been a good boy for most of this year. Excellent.
Yay.
Please read my questions in any given order.
Oh boy, there's more than one.
A lot of them are more than one. A lot of them are more than a couple.
Oh boy.
You are given the financial backing to resurrect one dead franchise with your developer/director of choice. What franchise are you resurrecting and who is developing it? I actually saw this question earlier and thought about it. I would do what?
So you're cheating.
I am cheating, yeah. I would do Guardian Legend,
Okay.
and I want Yacht Club Games to do it.
Oh, that would be good. That would be a good game. I would play that.
And they have to call it Super the Guardian Legend.
Yeah. That's rough. I think I'm going to go with the Lufia series and take it away from Square Enix so they can never, ever touch it again.
They can't hurt it like they did in the past.
Right. I don't want them anywhere near it. But I don't know who I'd give it to. Probably somebody from Square Enix because they know how to make RPGs. I'm thinking his name is Tezuka, I believe. Let me just confirm here. I have to Google search real quick with the name of the
Please narrate
author.
while you do it.
No, I believe it was one of the developers on Final Fantasy IV's name is crap. I can't remember his name. Oh, Takashi Tokita. That's his name. That's who I'd give it to. He can take over and reboot the Lufia franchise for me.
Which game do you wish you never went back to play and instead left the amazing memory as it was?
Obviously, Godzilla on Turbo CD, right, Justin?
Yeah, I'm going to say that one. I can't even say that it's aged poorly because I played it like 6 years ago. I was a grown adult when I played it.
Yeah.
There are other games. As much as I talk about Bad Dudes and we joke about it and it's like a meme within our community,
Right.
It's not a great game, and I kind of wish I just remembered how awesome it was when I was a kid.
And not how it actually plays today.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games that I have that feeling about where I wish that I hadn't replayed them as an adult, either on an emulator or on the actual hardware. But if I don't want to narrow it down to one, I'm going to say almost, but not everything, but almost everything that I played on my Commodore 64.
There you go.
Not because they are inherently bad, though many of them are, but because I spent a lot of years subconsciously blocking out the sound of a Commodore floppy drive loading.
Next up, why hasn't the exclusive Retro Warriors Game Boy game been released where we play as Saturn looking to find more Diet Coke? First of all, Saturn drinks Coke Zero.
Goddamn right I do.
Sir, I think this is a reference to the Game Boy game I started making in GB Studio a while back. And I built your house and my house, and of course in video game land we live next to each other because I don't want to build an overworld.
Right. That's a lot.
And you had a giant secret basement full of Coke Zeros.
That's just like real life, actually.
And I think I might have deleted it.
Oh no!
But it might be somewhere. I'll look for it. I will say that one of our community members has said that they are going to put us in their Game Maker game,
RPG Maker game.
RPG Maker game. So we'll be in that at least. Next up, when did Justin eat his PC Engine? I might have missed that episode. It is still forthcoming.
Yeah.
I have this growth on the inside of my leg.
damn it.
It's not itchy, but it has a hair and it's very satisfying to scratch. Which Castlevania game is your favorite?
It's relevant information.
If I were to say which Castlevania game do I think is objectively the best, it is either Bloodlines or Rondo.
Yeah.
If I were to say which one I personally have the most love for, it's the very first one on NES. Notice that none of those were Metroidvania Castlevanias.
I actually have to split that to my favorite Metroidvania style and Classicvania style. Because my favorite Metroidvania style is still Symphony of the Night. No matter how good some of the others are, I feel like Symphony was just better. But as far as the classic ones go, I go back and forth between Rondo and Castlevania 3. Bloodlines is also excellent, and objectively, it's probably better than Castlevania 3, but I have more fond memories of 3. The first game that I played in the franchise was 2, and I loved it when it first came out, and I played it so much. But going back, it doesn't feel Castlevania-y enough to
or
really,
good enough.
Hey, fuck off. It doesn't feel as much like the rest of the franchise, so I have a hard time saying it's a favorite in the franchise because it doesn't really feel representative of the franchise.
And finally, love the show. It's been such a stress relief from this lockdown. That is from Richard Tamchan 87.
Nice.
Who ends his note with lettuce clings to butt hair.
Pablo's going to hear
next.
that and think the show's over.
Next up, with decades of gaming and 5 years of podcasting under your belts, which part of Retro Warriors do you enjoy the most right now? Playing a video game, Nintendo Serial System, Super Scope. Oh, pardon me. I went into reading the wrong thing. Playing a video game, researching or compiling the history of that specific video game, or recording a podcast and getting to talk about the video game. Thanks for somehow doing all of the above for the past 5 years, and long may it continue until you're both older men from Tima. Yeah, I was reading, I have dual page view up and I was reading the wrong part.
Nice.
And I was like, do we enjoy playing a video game, the Super Scope or Nintendo Serial System better?
It's pretty much the same.
What a weird selection. So playing the game, researching and compiling the notes, or the actual recording of the show.
At this point, it's actually become the recording of the show for me.
Yeah.
Because one, it's human interaction, which is desperately needed in the world of lockdown.
Yeah.
And two, many of these games I've either already played over the years or have played to death, or if they're new to me, they're interesting. But being able to chat about them afterwards, I've always liked talking games, talking shop about the game world. So I appreciate that part.
I think it goes back and forth for me. I do like recording. I mean, obviously, we like the act of recording podcasts. That's why we record so many of them.
Right, for almost 10 years now.
But I also really do enjoy researching and compiling notes and learning about the stuff along the way, depending on the topic.
Yeah.
Some of them I just veg out instantly, and Saturn writes all the notes for me, and I don't have to do anything.
And there's a lot of times where I will do that kind of research, looking at histories of games and development and all that shit. I do that even if we're not doing an episode on a game. I just will get a wild hair up my ass. Like today, I was randomly looking up the history of the Kid Clown franchise, which is weird, by the way, but they're not good games. I wouldn't play any of them. But I still read several pages worth of content about it.
Yeah. But I will say, playing the video game and researching a lot of the time it can feel like work.
It does sometimes.
And a lot of times it is, sometimes it's a game like World Court Tennis that Saturn forces me to play, and I'm like, this is a chore. But when it comes down to recording is always enjoyable.
Oh, that'll always be one of my favorite episodes.
Next up, hey guys, Elk New Daffs here. Mailbag sounds fun. I came up with a few things. First up, back in the day, I used to host video game tournaments. My first was a Street Fighter II tournament at my local video rental store. Nice. In recent years, I've hosted them for friends. Tournaments have included everything from Sonic Spinball to Star Fox 64, Weapon Lord to Bubble Bobble, you name it. I've even made custom trophies for winners.
Nice.
Have either of you ever participated in a homebrew or professional gaming tournament? If so, what game did you play? And if not, what game do you think would give you the best chance at winning?
We used to have constant kind of round robin tournaments of either fighting games or Bomberman or Tetris Attack at my house growing up. But never did we declare a winner. It was always just like, that person won the most today, but we'll just start over again. As far as an actual, like, with a winner tournament setup, the only time I've ever personally participated was two things. One, at a A-Kon, which was an anime convention in Dallas, which I think they still hold, maybe. I played Marvel Capcom 2 there, and I either won or got really close to winning, and I don't remember because it's been almost 2 decades now. But I did pretty well, but mostly because there was very few people that participated. Everybody was playing Smash, and nobody cared about Marvel Cap that year.
Yeah.
And then the other one was the Nintendo World Championships 1990, where they did tryouts in cities all over the country, and they came to Dallas, and we went to the little thing.
Saturn, that's just the plot of The Wizard.
Oh, yeah.
We know you just watched The Wizard, and you're just telling us.
No, my dad took us to the thing, and
Christian Slater's house. He was there.
And they had these little trilons where they had TVs on each of the 3 sides of it, and they would show some games that hadn't come out yet. And specifically, I remember Mega Man 3 and Castlevania 3, and thinking they were incredible. And I had no intentions of actually trying out. And my dad signed me up without me knowing. And I was a little kid at the time. I would have been 8 that year, so I was real young. And so I'm an 8-year-old whose father signed him up for a thing he didn't want to do. And I also didn't like...
standard 8-year-old procedure.
Right. And also I didn't like having any kind of attention or any kind of praise or anyone like noticing me. So I was not at all interested in this. So before they did the like wizard style thing where you're on a stage competing with people, they brought you behind the stage, and there was just rows of tables with NES systems and little tiny TVs. And they had like 50 people at a time playing these games. And by this point, everybody knows the cartridge because it's been dumped and reproduced and all that. But you play Super Mario Brothers till you get 40 coins. And then you play Rad Racer till you get 1 lap. And then you play Tetris till you run out of time. And so they sit me down in front of this thing, and the Nintendo Power Advisor explains to me how to do this. And while they're explaining it to me, I'm like, how do I lose? How do I intentionally not
how do I tank my chances?
Right. How do I never get on a stage? Not because I like thought that I was good enough that I would win, but I was afraid I might get on a stage.
Like you might accidentally be amazing.
Right. And I was afraid that I would like sneak my way into the top 30 or however many people actually got on the stage. So I was like, I have to do worse than that. I'll just never get a 40th coin. So I played through Super Mario Brothers as far as I could without touching a 40th coin. And I got to either 4-2 right before the warp pipe or 8-1 right after the warp pipe before I accidentally touched my 40th coin. And then I remembered that I'm really bad at Rad Racer, so there was no way I was getting past that anyway. So I barely got into Tetris before my time expired. So my score sucked and I never got anywhere.
Yeah. I went to a Halo 2 tournament in, I guess this would have been high school. And we played all right. It was just like a local tournament. I don't even remember if there were prizes. I'm sure there were, but I didn't win anything.
Right.
Beyond that, a few years ago, I'd never been to QuakeCon. For people that don't know, id Software is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and QuakeCon is a convention they've run here for many years now. Oh, yeah. That's basically just an enormous LAN party.
Right.
And I was like, man, we need to go to QuakeCon. I've never been. And we went, and Todd Howard was there, and it was cool, and then we were bored. And then I was kind of upset because it really is just a gigantic LAN party. If you aren't showing up with your computer playing games, there's really kind of nothing to do except like walk around through vendor booths.
Yeah, there's usually a couple of announcements and some sales, but most of it is playing the games.
And I remember I got so frustrated. that we were bored. Like, it was a big deal. Like, we took off work. It was like, oh, we're going to go to QuakeCon. It's going to be great. And we didn't know. Like, in retrospect, it was like, you idiots, you went to a LAN party with no computer. But overall, we ended up having a not very great time. And I was like, this sucks. I'm going to make my own convention, and I'm going to call it Justin Con. And for like 4 years running, during the week of QuakeCon, we would all go to my house and play video games and just have various tournaments and whatnot, and then just get really stupid drunk.
Which is also a QuakeCon tradition.
But that's the closest to any tournament I've really been in.
Nice.
Next up, also from Elk New Daft's word association. Justin will read from a list of words one at a time, and Saturn will reply with the first word or short phrase that pops into his head. Let us begin. First word is Mega Man.
X.
Jill Sandwich.
Barry.
Red Arimer.
Gargoyle's Quest.
RPGs with fishing mechanics.
Fuck that. Fuck all that.
John Romero.
Beautiful Man.
A Link to the Past's Ice Palace.
No, fuck that too.
Producer Guy.
Aw, Guy's a good guy.
Blast Processing.
Is absolutely vital.
Thrill House.
Is the winner of Bone Storm.
Mode 7.
Also absolutely vital. And if we could somehow combine Mode 7 and Blast Processing.
Well, that's how they made the Switch. Didn't you know? That's it's both of them. That's how they got Witcher 3 running on it. That time on Step by Step when Frank brings home a Genesis and Mark becomes addicted.
I don't think I actually saw the episode, but somebody had posted the box in the chat. That was the most ridiculous shit.
Starcade.
Jeff Edwards is the better host of Starcade.
Full motion video.
Is fine as long as it's not in a video game.
Nintendo Serial System.
I ate it and it was bad. And I wish it was not as bad as it was.
NBA Jam.
I don't remember playing more than 10 minutes of that game in my life.
And Billy Mitchell.
I don't have nearly as strong enough an opinion of Billy Mitchell as you do.
As always, thank you for the great podcast. That was from Elk Neo Devs.
Thank you.
Next up, hey dudes, my question relates to my biggest gaming what if. For example, what if Secret of Mana would have actually been released as intended and not a half-finished product?
Right.
It is my favorite game of all time, and I wish I could have played it in its intended form. So what are your biggest gaming what ifs?
Oh, man. That actually always has been one of mine, was hoping to see the CD version of Secret of Mana. Also, if Final Fantasy VII or Dragon Quest VII had stayed on N64 instead of going to PlayStation. Hell, if Nintendo and Sony had made the PlayStation.
Yeah.
That might be my biggest one, was how different would things have been if Sony had kept working with Nintendo and not gone off on their own.
Yeah. My big one is and I'm not a big Sega fan, but my big one is what if the Dreamcast hadn't tanked so badly?
I don't even feel like the Dreamcast tanked as badly as it gets credit for in retrospect, because
that's true.
It did.
I mean, really, what if Sega didn't tank themselves in a general sense between the Saturn and then into the Dreamcast? Right. I still wonder a lot, like, Sega not going third party would have drastically changed how that next generation even looked.
Yeah, would Microsoft have even gotten into the business? And if they had, would they have been able to compete as a fourth man?
Like Sega just making some slightly better business decisions over the short term could have absolutely drastically changed the way things look now and the players we're dealing with.
Hell,
now.
if Sega of America and Sega of Japan had been able to communicate at all in the mid-90s, we'd be looking at a different landscape.
Thanks. That was from Mike Hawes.
Nice.
Hi, this is Mark, aka Metroid Prime, the whole game. Hope you are getting some great responses for the mailbag. The one I came up with is this. What are some of the things in gaming, whether games or hardware, that never left Japan that you wish had come here too?
Oh, man. That's a lot.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
For me, it's mostly peripherals. There's so much like weird hardwares and add-ons and peripherals.
Like
and,
the Res
like,
Trans Vibrator.
yeah, like the GBA cell phone adapter to play online.
Oh, yeah. And that one Game Boy fishing controller.
The PCFX in general.
Right, yeah. Did the 3DO M2 ever leave Japan?
Why would I know that? Why do you think I would know that at all?
Fair. That's a fair question. Now there's been all kinds of things that I am still to this day disappointed never left Japan.
Yeah.
Dragon Quest X
especially
is a
being an
big
RPG fan, I can't even imagine how many
right
RPGs.
Yeah,
did not
the
come
fact
out
that I
here.
will probably never play Dragon Quest X is frustrating to me.
Yeah. Next up is what is your favorite TurboGrafx 16 game? What do you think is the best TurboGrafx 16 game? And what is your most nostalgic TurboGrafx 16 game, and why?
Well, the answer to all of those is obviously JJ and Jeff.
Perfect. Yes. You. My favorite. I go back and forth on my favorite because I'm still exploring the PC Engine library and discovering new things.
Right.
Like right now it's Salamander. A month ago it was Blazing Lasers. A month before that it was Rondo.
Right.
As far as best game on the system, I mean it has to be Rondo of Blood.
That's
right?
where I go to.
Like what just a not only impressive for an 8-bit game.
Oh, yeah.
But just tremendously good game.
Yeah, and a lot of replay value too, with all the different paths that you can take, and an extra character you can unlock and play as with a completely different play style. For a Castlevania game, it is great. For a Castlevania game that is somehow playing on the TurboGrafx, it is really impressive. So I also rank that as the best. As far as my favorite, that's harder. I also sometimes cycle in Blazing Lasers in that list. Easebook 1 and 2 has always been one that I've gone back to regularly. First Utopia, Military Madness are also ones that I go back to regularly. I'd probably put Easebook 1 and 2 on there just because that was what got me into that whole franchise.
Yeah. And then it's from Brian Guido Hassin.
Nice.
Next up, what is your favorite video game crush? From Cajun Boz. Luigi.
Waluigi?
No, that's not acceptable.
Oh, okay.
Luigi's tall, he's thin, mustachioed,
I'm going to go with Toad.
Toad is quite attractive.
Yes, that's a cute guy.
Do you associate anything strange with a specific game? From Juan Sanchez. That's a weird one.
Yeah, it is.
I associate my dad with arch rivals, not because he played it a lot or because he liked basketball or anything, but just because he played it with me one time ever. And it was the greatest moment of my life because an adult wanted to play a video game with me, a dumb kid. And so that game always makes me think of my dad, even though, again, he only played it with me one time for like 5 minutes.
For me, the weirdest one I can think of is Rad Racer 2, because after we got that game, my sister got her first car. So this would have been in the early 90s, I guess. And she was trying to come up with a name for it, and my brother insisted that she call it the Rad Racer. and a few days after she got it, one of her friends was borrowing it and took me and my brother to the mall in it. And we didn't know how high he was at the time until we were on the highway, and my brother called the car the Rad Racer, and he took his hands off the wheel and just started slapping the dashboard and screaming, "We're in a video game, man!" And it was one of the most terrifying experiences of my young life.
Yeah, that's pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
I'll give you that one. Next up, what are some of your biggest collecting opportunities that you let pass by? Mine are holding a copy of Tron Bonne in Toys R Us and deciding not to buy it, then not trading a copy of Super C for Bucky O'Hare. Also, Justin, tell us what you really think of Billy Mitchell. And please, let's have top 5 games of all time, too, from Raw Beat.
My biggest collecting opportunity to slip through my hands is maybe if I got that 40th coin in Mario Brothers, I'd have a Nintendo World Championships cart right now.
And you could retire. I don't know. I try not to let collecting things that passed me by. Because, I mean, obviously, we all lived through these eras.
Right.
We're all old enough. So everything that's worth money now that you didn't buy, you were dumb.
Yeah.
You know, like retroactively.
Yeah. When I worked at EB, we had the Game Boy Color Shantae game on clearance for $10 in our store for like a year. And we had several sealed copies behind the counter on clearance for $10. And I could have bought that. And that's what, $200 now? Something like that?
Yeah.
Something disgusting. So, you know.
I don't know. It turns into one of those things where at the end of the day, the only things that I am genuinely upset about from a gaming perspective that I didn't get, you know, when they were a thing and available are things that I'm unable to experience now.
Right.
And that's honestly very little thanks to the power of emulation and a renewed interest in retro gaming.
So you'll never get to experience the X band, Justin.
I think I'll be okay. I have the regular internet, which is a superior version of the X band.
Let me tell you, the X band was trash. As someone who tried to play a game on it, you shouldn't do that.
As far as what I really think about Billy Mitchell, I do think he's an ass.
Yeah.
I think he's a tremendous ass, and I wish he would get over himself. And honestly, really honestly, real truth, I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
His entire life accomplishment is wrapped up in
Pac-Man.
being good at arcade games that kind of the world doesn't care about anymore.
Right.
And I can see from a mental perspective of your persona being, I'm the really good at video games guy, but only these upright arcade machines that most kids under 20 have never even seen in real life.
Oh God!
Like I can see how you might. Did you just realize? Yeah.
Oh, why did you say that?
I could see how you might develop a complex.
Right.
About that. He, you know, is he good at video games? Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Is he also, by all accounts, at least when a camera is rolling, a big ass? Yes, he is.
Right.
So
and it's got to be painful for him because when he was at the top of his game and he was setting records competitively, he didn't get much, if any, money for it. To be able to turn on a TV now on a Disney Channel and watch kids playing Splatoon or Fortnite against each other and winning massive amounts of money for it.
It's sad.
Yeah.
You know, in a way, really honestly, I feel bad for him. I feel like he doesn't know who to be if not that guy, but the world doesn't need that guy anymore.
What we need is an egotistical hot sauce baron.
Hot Sauce Baron is my new wrestling persona. I've decided. Oh, there's the Hulkster, and here comes the Hot Sauce Baron. I just have 2 bottles of Tabasco. I shake in Hulk Hogan's eyes, instantly debilitating him.
Perfect. Eventually, you'll get ranked up, and you'll become the Hot Sauce Duke.
There you go. Top 5 games of all time. I don't love the notion of top 5 games of all time. I do like the notion of top 5 games of all time right in this moment because in an hour it's going to change.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many qualifiers that could be applied.
Somebody could
to
ask us this question every 6 months, and I bet we would give different answers every time.
Right. But top 5 games right now in this moment. I've been playing a lot of Super Mario Brothers 3 between All Stars and GBA Collection, and just what a just a great game.
Oh, yeah.
Super Mario 3 is just awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm gonna list off 4 more other games off the top of my head, but it's really damn good.
Yeah.
I've also been playing chunks of Radiant Silvergun, and just what a tremendous game that is.
Right.
So it just kind of depends. And then Dragon Quest 11 also, I'm still playing it, and I keep gushing about it and going on about how I don't like these kinds of games, but this one is really great, and I think it might end up going down as one of my favorite games.
Yeah, it's an excellent game with an excellent cast and excellent writing. If I can break it down to series, it's easier for me because then I can just say things like Dragon Quest franchise. And
okay, well, let me ask you this: which is your favorite Boogerman game?
Ooh, that would none of them.
All right. Well, that leads into our next question.
Also Bubble Bobble. I want to say that is one of my top games.
There you go.
I've been playing.
Hey guys, first off, love the show. I just want to ask, what the heck is wrong with Boogerman? Now, I realize that it's a game based only on toilet humor, but is that really such a bad thing?
Yeah.
I found Boogerman at a young age at the rental store, and I had to try it. And to this day, even though I've never beaten it, I still consider it to be one of my favorite games on the Super Nintendo/Sega. It's definitely not perfect, but it is sufficient in its platforming and art quality, and the little boy deep down inside of me can't help but giggle at all the immature powers and such. I've heard you guys give it a playful rip a few times, and ever since the first reference, I've held out hope to get a full episode for it from my two favorite reviewers. Yes, I know that's a stretch to say the least, but a guy can dream, can't he? Anyways, all this to say, I would like to hear, even if only briefly, your guys' thoughts on one of my fondest remembered games. I love listening to you guys, and I hope to one day be able to become a patron so I can do my part to help keep my favorite show going. Nice. Thanks for all the years of great content. Here's to many more. Let us cling together, from Russell D. Mayers.
Well, thank you for the kind words, first of all.
I've never played Boogerman.
I did rent it at the time because I was also in that age group. I was probably 12, 13 or something like that when it came out.
Right.
So I rented it, and it felt like every other Western platformer on the Genesis to me. Mm-hmm. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because that also includes things like Earthworm Jim, which a lot of people absolutely love that game, as well as all the Virgin developed Disney games on Genesis, like Aladdin and such.
Right.
Which, they're fine games, but they're not my kind of game. I prefer that much tighter platforming like Mario has, where you stop on a dime, even though a real human being wouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't. If it has that, it didn't feel that way to me when I played it. But it's also been 2.5 decades since I gave it a shot, so I can't say anything definitive, but I can say it didn't sell me on it when I tried it.
I never played it. I just like making fun of it because it's Boogerman.
Does have a fun.
I feel like anyone who's going to make a game and call it Boogerman is probably okay with a little good-natured ribbing. You kind of have to be if you're in the booger space.
Right.
Not a lot of.
Wasn't he a playable character in one of the Clay Fighters?
I don't know. I only played one of the Clay Fighters.
I want to say the N64 Clay Fighter game you could play as Boogerman, if I remember right.
Yeah. Next up, multi-part question. Number one, I think Homer gets stupider every year. I don't even know how he's supposed to put clothes on and go to work as dumb as they have him now.
I agree. That feels off topic, but sure.
It is, but it's a good point. He started as like this kind of grumpy but respectable dad, and now he's just like, I don't know what's going on.
There's a term that I know at least TV Tropes uses it. I wouldn't be surprised if other people use it, which oddly has also come from The Simpsons, is Flandersization, where a character becomes more and more of a parody of itself the longer a
collection of their own tropes,
right?
Yeah,
and Homer has certainly suffered from that, but so has most long-running TV characters, like Peter Griffin in the first season of Family Guy was a halfway decent father who could put together a sentence.
Yeah,
and now he staples his own hand at the table.
It's so it doesn't move. Number two, is there a specific game or series you've wanted to chat about but haven't because there isn't enough to do a full episode on?
So many.
What game? Now is your chance. There are a lot.
There's so many.
And usually it's NES games. I have a lot of love for a lot of NES games. And every now and then we'll squeeze one in. Like Trog was one that I thought for the longest time, there's no way we're going to get an episode. And I remember recording that episode, and I was like, shit, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make it to an hour. And we did, I think, just barely. Yeah. Other ones, it's stuff like I still maintain that Kung Fu Heroes is a good and enjoyable game, but I don't know that I could talk about it for a whole episode.
There's all kinds of like dumb behind the scenes publishing shit that I have spent hours and hours and hours reading that would never be worthwhile for a full episode, so we'd never actually get to it. And of course, now that I'm on the spot, I can't think of any of those things.
Kid Clown.
Oh yeah, like that one. So like it was a Crazy Castle game. Because the first Crazy Castle game in Japan was Roger Rabbit, and then they couldn't get the rights to Roger Rabbit anymore, so they made the rest from Mickey Mouse. But they didn't have the rights to Mickey Mouse in America, so they made him Bugs Bunny over here. But then they lost the rights to Bugs Bunny, so they made up Kid Clown out of nowhere as a Western mascot for their series. And then they just went back to using Bugs Bunny again because they paid for the license. But they started making sequels to Kid Clown that had nothing to do with Crazy Castle, and they didn't come out in America. They made this character exclusively for the Western audience. They didn't even release his first game in Japan, and then they made sequels that were Japan exclusive for many years. And then they finally released another game in that franchise in America, and they replaced him with a middle-aged balding construction worker.
That makes sense, Saturn.
I don't get any of it. It's the weirdest shit.
I do. I have issues with certain genres. Like I love tournament fighters and I love shmups.
Yeah.
But it's hard to squeeze an episode out of a tournament fighter or a shmup.
Right.
Because with tournament fighters, you just end up listing characters and their moves. Right. Yeah, and you're like, here's Ryu, and he has the Hadoken, and he's got the Dragon Punch, and and there are times in the episodes where we do list things.
Yeah, and we try to limit that, or at least spice it up.
Right. And so we struggle because I would love to cover lots of tournament fighting games. Right. I would like to have different episodes on different versions of the same Street Fighter game, even because I like the games a lot. I just don't know that we could talk about them long enough. So we end up doing things like series overviews and stuff. On the same note, a lot of shmups. Like I've been playing a lot of cave shmups lately. Like I think games like Donpachi is great, but we couldn't really just do that game.
Right.
We could maybe do the series, but even then, there's only 2 or 3 of them, and they don't deviate very much.
Right.
And so you're just kind of strapped for content.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we really enjoy that doesn't always make for a great or at least a full episode on its own. And maybe some of it is just that we might not have the full vocabulary for it. Like we could cover a lot more music stuff if I knew how to discuss it at all. But I can't. And that's a big chunk of a lot of my favorite games. My favorite part of them is the soundtrack. And then if you ask me why I like the soundtrack to Silent Hill 2, my answer is it's really pretty. And that doesn't make for very useful content on the show.
Right.
So there's components of games that we probably end up skipping over constantly because we're focusing on what we know how to discuss and what we know how to bring to the table.
Right. And then number 3, what company had the better games in the NES era, Capcom or Konami? Oof. And what about the 16-bit era? I'm going to go Konami for 8-bit and Capcom for 16-bit.
I was actually going to go the opposite until you said that out loud. Because I was thinking of like on NES, you had DuckTales, you had 6 Mega Man games, you had Little Nemo, just a ton of great Capcom games on NES. And then on the 16-bit era, you've got 3 different excellent Castlevanias across all 3 platforms. Contra 3 was all right, I guess. Castlevania 1 through 3 on NES and the Ninja Turtles games. That's it. That's all I need for NES. I don't give a crap about all the Mega Mans. I want my Ninja Turtles games. Yeah, I'm much more likely to play Mega Man than Ninja Turtles. So
yeah. In 16-bit, going back to the top 5 games of all time, I forgot to mention Mega Man X, which is I would just that alone is Capcom wins it. Yeah. Konami has nothing remotely as good as Mega Man X on the Super Nintendo.
Capcom also had Street Fighter during the 16-bit era, which that was huge.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah,
heard about that briefly.
Yeah, that's a tough question because both of them were just fucking powerhouses at the time, and one of them is still worthwhile today.
Did Capcom have an imprint like Konami had Ultra Games? Was there a weird imprint of Capcom?
Not really. Nintendo just kind of let them do what they wanted.
Of course
they did license out several of their games to other studios to publish on other systems. Like you saw several Capcom games published by US Gold on the Genesis and by High Tech on PC.
Yeah. And then finally, Saturn has expressed his dislike for No One Can Stop Mr. Domino.
That's true.
A lot.
Yes.
What is it about the game you dislike? And this is from Bobby.
First of all, I would like to question the idea that it's a game.
Because other people in the chat have brought up that, hey, Saturn hates No One Can Stop Mr. Domino. I thought it was charming and weird and interesting.
Yeah. So I would like to contest the idea that it's a game. Because it's not. No, it's really weird. And first of all, it's been almost 20 years since I played it, so I would probably be mostly talking out of my ass if I tried to give a real detailed explanation. I remember just finding it kind of dull and not really understanding what was even supposed to be happening, or if there was supposed to be any action, or if it was just kind of a puzzle. And I was very confused. But more importantly, I was upset because I was told by a reviewer that I respected a lot that it was one of the best games of the year and a hidden gem from Japan that we may never see the likes of again. And I ended up paying for it online almost $100. And I did not get $100 of enjoyment out of it.
You don't say.
Yeah. Like if I had picked it up at a clearance bin for $15, I might have been like, well, that was a quirky little thing. But with the hype and the cost, I have only rage for Mr. Domino.
I've still not played that one.
I don't.
Mostly because I think you'd quit talking to me if I did. I think the only reason we are friends is your only criteria was, who do I know that has never played No One Can Stop Mr. Domino and knows nothing about it? And the answer was me.
That's true.
So here we are. And with that, I'm afraid we're gonna have to make this a two-parter.
Uh-oh.
We are only halfway through our notes, our write-ins, and we're well over an hour.
Oh, dang.
And I love you all very much and appreciate that you wrote in, and I am going to read your write-ins, but I don't want to do a 2-hour show because it's late and I'm tired and I'm thirsty and I have to pee.
We sound so old when we put it that way.
But we will pick this up, I suppose, either next episode or the one after, depending on how we want to space it, because we record in 2-episode batches.
Right.
And we will finish with the mailbag, and maybe have more write-ins.
Right.
And then we'll just have a never-ending tree of write-ins. Hopefully not.
And maybe we'll open it up again at a future point for the people who didn't get in time this time. In a few months or something, we'll hit it again.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much to everyone who wrote in and for all the very kind words. It sounds like fake podcaster humility, but it really, honestly, it is very humbling that so many people listen to the show but care what we have to say about Booger Man. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much.
If you had told me 15 years ago that someone would say they were interested in my opinion about Booger Man, I would not have believed you.
So we'll pick it up next time and read, hopefully, the rest of these. It's been a ride.
Right?
I'll say that.
Seriously.
Anyway, thank you for listening. If you would like to support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/Retro Warriors, where you can get even more podcasts that we do. Well, not Saturn. This is the only one he does. He's exclusive to this show. It's in his contract. Oh, you're on After Hours as well. But you're not on Talking Wizards, our other spinoff show, or Cinema Rogues that you can find for free in the show's description, even if you're not a patron.
That's right.
Just go open the description and click on the link if you feel like it. Or don't. I'm not going to make you.
Did you run out of words there somewhere?
I did run out of words. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week. And as always, let us cling together.